Well, hello everybody. Welcome back into the Colored Gemstone Academy. I am Paul Deasy, your instructor, and this is my YouTube channel, Paul Deasy Gemstones, very appropriately named that. Before we get into this week's lesson, which will be a fun one, it's on one of my favorite opaque pink gemstones called Rhodochrosite. Before we get into that, I have a couple of important announcements. First of all, I wanted to apologize to everybody that I was not able to do a lesson last week. We got called in last minute for a couple of business meetings, and I might have some exciting news to share with you soon. Also, we're going to be actually moving from our place in Tampa Bay area of Florida to a little further south in Florida, and that's taking some of my time as well. But also I wanted to thank each and every one of you who have already subscribed to this channel. We are quickly closing in on 1,900 subscribers, and I sincerely thank you. I couldn't have done it without you. I really do appreciate that. If you have friends that have not yet subscribed, introduce them to the channel. Okay, I said I have a couple of important announcements, one of which I already said is that we were sort of caught up going to meetings and then also moving, so we're kind of running haywire, Judy and me, right now. However, some of those meetings, I'm not at liberty to talk in detail yet, but it involves one of my biggest former manufacturer finding a way that we can get some really very collectible and very dear gemstones available to you. And when I'm at liberty to discuss it, I will go in much fuller detail with you, but it'll be around the September time frame, and I will keep you posted. But now let's get on to our lesson about rhodochrosite. All right, so this week's lesson, it truly is one of my favorite kind of unsung heroes in the opaques. I'm going to show you a picture from my gemstone book, and this is rhodochrosite, not to be confused with, a couple pages later, because I did this in alphabetical order, Rhodonite. And you can see Rhodonite has a little bit of black banding in that crystal, whereas the rhodochrosite, it's really known, especially the Argentinian material, for that white banding that you see in the rhodochrosite. So what is rhodochrosite, and why do I think it is really such a great little gemstone? First of all, the chemical composition. It is a manganese carbonate, and that what gives it that pink to red color is manganese, and that manganese does that with other red gemstones as well. I said not to be confused with the rhodonite, with the black banding, because that is the chemical composition on that is a manganese silicate. So manganese silicate different than the manganese carbonate. Otherwise, they're very, very similar gemstones. The crystal structure on this gemstone is trigonal, and the Mohs scale of hardness. So those of you that are new to this channel, I always like to give you a review. Frederick Mohs was the person who invented the Mohs scale of hardness. It is a relative hardness based on 1 being talc and 10 being a diamond, and all those different numbers in between. And it literally was a scale that said what gem could scratch another gem. A gem with a Mohs hardness of 2 can scratch a gem with a Mohs hardness of 1. So this one happens to be 3.5 to 4, so not known for its hardness, but again, it's largely you see in the opaque form, although I'm going to talk a little bit later in this lesson of some really incredible gem quality rhodochrosite that comes right from here in the good old USA. Now the hardness we talked about, the ability to withstand scratching. Then we have something called the toughness scale, or the tenacity, and that's the ability to withstand chipping and cracking. So this one will be rated fair to poor on that toughness scale. So it's not going to be your most durable gemstone. Refractive index. Now refractive index, we're talking about what's the sparkle of this? And as you would guess with most of your opaques, it's not really about the sparkle of the gemstone. In this case, it's really more about the color of that gemstone. So nonetheless, your refractive index is between 1.6 and 1.8 on that refractive index. And then we get into the specific gravity. That is the heft. What does heft mean? How heavy does it feel compared to the size of the stone? So this one's about a 3.6 to 3.7. And to put that into perspective, we always talk about the ruby and sapphire as kind of the standard. It's a 4 on the Mohs scale of hardness. It is a 4 on the specific gravity, or the heft of the stone. Now, what does that mean? The way that they came up with specific gravity is they said the specific gravity of water is 1. So if you could take a gemstone and put it in a cup in liquid form, the ruby or sapphire, which is a 4 on that specific gravity, would weigh 4 times as much as that cup of water. Conversely, if you have something close to 1 or below 1, like amber will float on a solution of salt water. It's very light and doesn't have much of a density. So that's what the specific gravity means. And another thing that sets the rhodochrosite apart from other gemstones is that it really has no treatments to enhance the gemstone. Now, most people are surprised, especially if you're new to the gem world, that most gems are enhanced in some way, shape, or form to improve either the performance, like with the toughness or the hardness, or the beauty of the gemstone is treated in some way. Well, the rhodochrosite receives no treatments whatsoever. Boy, it's like I take a week off and I'm forgetting how to talk. Anyway, the sources. Okay, so where did rhodochrosite come from? What was the first place where it was really discovered, or at least written about? And that would be in the silver mines of Romania. And the year, I believe, I can't remember. I want to say in the late 1800s. I forget exactly when it was. But it was first discovered in the silver mines, and is found a lot where silver is mined. And another place where you see a lot of especially the banded rhodochrosite today, would be in Argentina. And that's really the lion's share. In fact, I'll talk a little bit later about some specimens that I saw at the Tucson Gem Show 3 or 4 years ago that were just dynamite. Now, the largest crystal, now this is going to be interesting, I think, for most of you. The largest crystal ever discovered was right here in the United States of America, and it's a mine called the Sweet Home Mine outside of Denver in Colorado. In fact, they call it Sweet Home Rhodochrosite. This largest crystal ever recorded was called the Alma King. I'm going to put a picture of that on your screen. And it's described, I think it was 1992, maybe this one was discovered. But it's described as a football-sized crystal on a bed of white quartz crystals. And when I say football, I know we have an international audience. I'm talking about American football, the pointy one, almost more like a rugby football for you guys overseas, not the soccer ball. So think about the crystal size of that in a ruby red color. And that's the one I'm showing you on your screen. And it is one of the rarest and largest crystals ever discovered. There's another one, believe it or not, called the Alma Queen, a little bit smaller. But look at the color and the clarity of that rhodochrosite. The value of that must be completely off the charts. So let's dig a little deeper. Well, that's a bad pun. Let's talk a little bit more about the Sweet Home Mine. Now, I've not visited this or any of the rhodochrosite mines as of yet, but I would love to see this mine in Colorado. And it was originally a silver mine. As a silver mine, it was pretty much a dud. It was basically, you can equate it to, it was a big hole in which you threw a lot of your money and you never got much silver to show for it. And now that come to think of it, it's what they say the same thing about buying a boat. A boat is a big hole in the water in which you throw a lot of money. But that's the way this mine was. But fortunately, what it lacked in sterling silver, it made up for in producing the finest, and this is recognized worldwide as the finest crystal rhodochrosite in the world. No one produces what this does. So when somebody asks, well, what about the value of rhodochrosite? Yeah, you can find some rhodochrosite that's relatively affordable. Very, very pretty in color, pink with the white banding. But I'm going to show you this gem crystal that came out of the Sweet Home mine in Colorado. And this would be, you can see it's pretty much a transparent, almost ruby colored gem, or at least a very deep pink colored gem. And you would pay a pretty heavy price for something of that caliber. So on a more personal note, as I talk about rhodochrosite, it does fluctuate. I think this happens with a lot of the pink colored gemstones, even whether you're talking about pink tourmaline, or if you're talking about a pink sapphire, or talking about some of the shades of garnet. It's really cyclical, kind of goes with the taste of some of the collectors out there. Sometimes it can become very, very expensive, and sometimes the price drops because there's not as much demand for it. As far as my most recent memories of the rhodochrosite, especially at the Tucson Gem Show. Now, I know that we've had a lot of interruptions in the Tucson Gem Show because of the COVID pandemic that hit the world. And the Tucson Gem Show is a worldwide, and people have to travel from all over the world to get there. So, but I remember vividly, probably about 3 years ago, and that was the last time pre-pandemic that I visited the Tucson Gem Show. And if you go to downtown Tucson, you have the convention center where the AGTA is, and then there's the freeway that runs through Tucson on your way to Phoenix or El Paso. And I remember walking in these shows that are south of Speedway. Speedway is the kind of the access road that parallels in Tucson the highway. And there was just an amazing exhibit of Argentinian rhodochrosite. And I've never seen anything like it. That year, for whatever reason, every time I looked at a specimen, there was a sold sign on it. I'd say that it was 99 to 100% sold out before I even got to that. So rhodochrosite's really making a name for itself, and it's something that I highly recommend that you add to your personal collection. Well, that's going to do it for this particular week of the Colored Gemstone Academy. Remember, if you've not yet subscribed, please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and I do all these lessons for free for you. I really do appreciate when you do subscribe. All right, well, that'll do it for this week. I'll see you next time, the Colored Gemstone Academy. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.